I grew up on the Curragh here. I grew up in Milltown, which is probably 5 or 6 miles away. My family is steeped in racing history. When I got my trainer's license 2 years ago, I think it was the 5th generation of the family to to become a licensed trainer. Licensing only goes back to, I think, like 1870 something.
Yeah.
So there was probably a few renegades training horses before then. But yeah, I grew up close to here. Horses were always part of my life. Dad trained horses for the last 20 years or so. My mother's an equine vet. My grandfather rode a Grand National winner. When I was growing up, horses were everywhere. Eat, sleep, drink horses, going racing at the weekends. And it's just all people that I grew up with thought about and did. And was it the same for you growing up in New Zealand with rugby? Was it what everyone did and wanted to do?
Yeah, like rugby's a massive part, I guess, of the culture in New Zealand. I grew up playing rugby from a young age, and then, sport was massive, but rugby was a pretty predominant thing. My hometown, my college that I went to, rugby was the #1 sport, and I grew up also with very similar. I just wanted to play rugby. I thought that I could do it from a young age and stuck at it. So here we are now.
So you grew up with a rugby ball in your hands?
Yeah, a lot of kids would. Like I said, rugby's the #1 sport, and you always, dreamt of playing it professionally. And there were heaps of other sports available, but I just was attracted to rugby. And like I said, now I'm here. Patrick, did you ever think that you were going to do anything outside of horses?
I did when I was, I don't even remember learning to ride a horse. It's that long ago. I was very young, but I kind of did it because I had to. I didn't really love it. I loved going racing at the weekends.
Of course, yeah.
But when it came to actually riding out the pony that we had at home and looking after it, like, that was tedious. I much prefer to go and play football with friends.
It's a full-time job with the horses,
Yeah, it's a full-time job. And I wasn't in love with it, I have to say. Going at the weekends was great fun, but riding every day wasn't.
How did you end up being a trainer?
I don't know. It just sort of ended up going that way. When I remember one incident when I was about 11 or 12 or maybe 13. I was told, like, you have to go and ride your pony. You haven't ridden it all week. You have to go and ride it. And I remember, like, throwing a tantrum. If you make me ride this pony, I'll never want to work with a horse again.
Now look at you.
Fast forward 15, 20 years, and here I am. Working with them every day.
Yeah, coaching 13-year-olds not to have a tantrum to go ride their pony.
Yeah, pretty much. It just, when Dad started training back in the early 2000s, I went racing with him, but I was out in the yard a bit more, and I kind of, obviously the speed is so attractive.
Yeah.
Like going around on a little pony, jumping little jumps it's grand, but when you see a horse galloping at like 40 miles per hour,
that's what you want to be involved in.
Yeah, there's a good buzz from it.
Yeah, of course.
I started sort of doing that, and once I started riding horses at speed, I was just hooked completely. I couldn't think of doing anything else.
Nice.
My rugby career just put behind me.
No, it happens, don't worry. You're in a pretty unique situation with you and your father working in partnership. Has it helped you? Has it hindered you? Is there obstacles that probably are a little bit different with other relationships between trainers? Like, how's that going?
It's going really well. It's unique. We were the first training partnership in Irish history, and the only one up to this year. I think there's another one, maybe two coming through this year. But they were the first partnership to be training in Ireland.
Do you find it hard, or like it's your dad at the end of the day? Do you guys, they say don't mix business with something like this, but I'm sure you guys have some conversations that are pretty tough to have, your father and son at the end of the day.
Yeah, there are, and we've had to sort of learn how to cope and how to develop our own relationship. Yeah, and maybe just park business.
The father and son.
Yeah, you got to be able to. Yeah, and especially at the end of the day, just sort of leave business behind there for a little while and go out for dinner or something together, like the whole family,
and
pints,
just
exactly.
Just not get away from
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But it's been very good. I have to say he was the main driver behind getting the joint license. I was
Okay.
quite happy to keep working as his assistant and
Yeah.
just gradually work up over the next few years to maybe taking over the business.
Yeah.
But he's not training that long. He's been training almost 20 years. He's 20 years next year.
Yeah.
He was in no rush to retire.
Yeah.
And I guess there's zero pressure on him now at the moment to retire.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you
working
think he
quite
brought
nicely.
you in? Why do you think he wanted to work with you?
I think he just wanted me to be better rewarded for the work I was doing.
Yeah.
Right, because he grew up in my shoes as well. He was working for his father.
Yeah.
And he went off and he worked in banking and currency trading in the cities for years. I didn't go down that route. Probably didn't have the brains or the capacity for it. But he went down that route. I didn't. And I think he always would have loved the option, would have loved the opportunity to train with his father.
Yeah.
And he was a big driver behind this. And I have to say, since we got the joint license, I've got massive satisfaction from it.
Yeah.
I found it much easier to train the horses because I'm directly involved. Not much has changed behind the scenes, but there's definitely a lot more personal satisfaction gotten out of it.
Do you think he just had such a trust in you and could see, I guess, an ability in you? Is that why he sort of brought you on to work with him, or?
I think so. And I went to work in the UK when I was 19, and I think from the moment I did that, working with horses in the UK at 19, when I made that move, he kind of thought, right, he wants to do what I'm doing now someday, so let's try and accelerate the process. We can have both our names on the license rather than this traditional one name and eventually I'll step down and he'll step up kind of scenario.
Oh, nice.